r/AskReddit. Redditors with jobs most people don't know exist. What do you do? I work at a company which will remain nameless that gets rid of commercials and sports bars and now in the home, replacing it with endless amounts of media customizable by the consumer. My job as quality control is to push a button on an iPad when ESPN for example switches to commercial from the program, which triggers the change in all restaurants bars using the service. BTW, every Dave and Buster's in the nation uses our program. TLDR. I get paid to watch ESPN and push a button on an iPad. Not the only thing I did at the job, but definitely the weirdest. I worked at a grocery store last winter, right around Christmas time. I had to sprinkle dirt on the potatoes in the produce section to make them look freshly picked. Then the customers would get home and erase all my hard work. Edit. Wow. Platinum was my first award. Thank Anon. I make virtual clothing and sell it for money on a dress-up chat game. When my mom was in grad school, she would drive around and collect dead babies and deliver them to the med school where she worked. This isn't a funny one really, but I used to work in clubs venues doing lighting and other tech work. On club nights, I'd be operating the lighting rig and people would come knock on my booth window and think I'm the DJ. They and people I'd meet who ask what I do for work would usually say, oh, I always thought it's just a computer or something. I mean it is, but I tell it what to do. Essentially I watch TV all day. It's actually digital archiving of old videotape, but it's for major networks who have massive tape libraries of stuff like Beta, VHS, U-matic, 1 inches and 2 inches tape and anything else in between. All the old magnetic tape is starting to expire, so they ship pallets of tapes to the company I work for and we record them in real time then send back the files. It takes years to completely digitize a tape library. Some of our older big clients have been sending us pallets every month consistently for the past 5 years. And there's still roughly another 5 years left. It's pretty interesting. And I never knew about it before getting into the field. So if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to answer. I used to work at a lab in Memphis where we would perform surgical procedures on cadavers and test new medical equipment that was being developed. Saw some crazy futuristic shit. Not recently, but a few years ago my job was to timestamp Netflix videos for the skip intro button. It was the single best job ever until they stopped allowing remote work for what I was doing. I would wake up, log into a special page and have a list of videos series etc to timestamp. I was paid for 8 hours of work a day when most days I could breeze through my daily workload in 2-3 hours. For about a year I was free to do whatever the hell I wanted. Just wake up, do a few hours work, then be done. Then they introduced this feature called work ahead. Basically I could do 2 days of work in about 5-6 sometimes 7 hours and have the next day off and still get paid. Shit was gravy and the best job ever. On the plus side, when I was let go, my account I still use is fully upgraded and I don't have a payment due until the 31st of December. 3000 lol. I'll be leaving my Netflix account to my kids and their kids. I'm a butler. I work for a marquee in the West Midlands of England in a large estate. I'm always surprised, but a lot of people didn't know it was a real job, especially Americans. I'm also fairly young and break the stereotypes that Alfred Pennyworth has set about how a butler should be. I'm a demand planner. My job is to make sure when you walk into a store or order online we have that specific thing you want in stock. Most jobs I've worked required us to have 95% plus product in stock at all times. Usually when we have a stock out, it's because some genius decided he needed 64 hammers or 500 gallons of milk at once, screwing up the demand model. My job is closest to being disability support, but it's a little more specific. I'm basically paid to be my client's best friend. His disability makes him either the coolest person ever if he likes you, or the most difficult person if he doesn't. So keeping him in a good mood requires me to be like a constant hype man, and getting him pumped for the next little part of every day. And his thing is he can sniff out insincerity a mile away, which is why none of the past caregivers have worked out. So you have to genuinely enjoy hanging out with him, which luckily I do. Not sure if this answer is on topic, but it feels like a very unique job to me. I caption telephone calls in real time for the deaf and hard of hearing as my part-time job. Edit. You guys have had some awesome questions and I tried my best to answer most of them. To those who are worried my job is in jeopardy because of automation etc. This is my part-time job, not my career. I do this because as I learned more about the deaf community, I wanted to do everything I could to help them. They are a truly amazing community who do not get enough support from the government or the hearing community. I want you all to think of the last phone call you made. Now imagine you can't hear the other person. How much more difficult would your life be? Thanks for all the comments. I'm involved with training people in how to survive in the event of being taken hostage. The courses are designed for people who work in hostile environments. I'm a pathologist's assistant. When somebody gets a surgery for, let's say, colon cancer, where do you think the leftover guts go? I receive them in the lab and then examine and dissect them. Then the tissue gets made into microscope slides for further diagnosis. Parks and Rec Safety Inspector. I didn't realize how many people didn't know our department is real until my recent post about it. We make sure the parks are free of safety hazards. Not my current job, but I used to investigate distribution fraud. Do you wanna know how a tech company sells and ships 100,000 laptops into a random developing country with limited infrastructure? They hire a local distributor. Not surprisingly, there is a ton of fraud, bribery, tax evasion that goes down in this business. I was fresh out of college and I would have people 30 years older than me literally begging for their lives. At the time I just thought it was a normal consulting job, but sometimes when I'm telling stories at a bar and watching my friends' jaws drop I realize just how crazy this was. Not anymore, but for a while I was an ocular procurement technician. I would harvest corneas or entire globes from recently deceased people for transplant or research. I used to work for a football team and my job was to watch matches and count stats such as passes, shots, time in attacking third and possession percentage. I would also gather data from GPS systems that the team would wear and create graphs which show player workload throughout the match. I'm chief engineer on a large yacht owned by a very wealthy man. Not me, but lots of people I know. In the dog show world, top winning dogs aren't usually handled by their regular owners, but by pro handlers who travel the country to show. They usually have regularly paid assistants but also are frequently accompanied by junior handlers. Kids under 18 who compete in junior showmanship. These kids leave home for months at a time and do school on the road to travel with handlers as an assistant. Usually these kids are competing to be the top junior handler in their breed or group. The kicker is that we can't be paid as an assistant since AKC rules state that juniors have to maintain amateur status to compete, although often the handler they work for will pay them by paying for their show entries. And room and board are free. Work on trails. Get paid to backpack. Camp. Play with rocks and chainsaw. My parents always said you can't play in the mud for a living. But now I have health insurance. So take that, mom. I do a lot of different things at my job. But one of the big things is that I build GPS models for earth moving construction equipment. I think a lot of people are aware that bulldozers and the like can use GPS now. But not a lot of people realize the effort that goes into determining exactly what those machines will grade. It's a lot of fun. I used to build hiking trails. A lot of people assume they just are naturally formed or something. But that's the goal of a good trail builder. I'm a cartographer, and yes, there are lots of other maps required in the world besides Google. I wipe down the loads and saunas. Among other things, I tune organs with thousands of pipes ranging in size from 32 feet, see example in link below, both wood and metal, to about the size of pencils. https://4.bp.blogs.com/underscore6k-wel-qmhrsk/s3kj_convention_hall_organ5.jpg. I correct video games. The job title is LQA Tester, Localization Quality Assessment. It's called localization because I mostly test translated games and retranslate some parts if they aren't translated correctly. I'm quite literally a game tester, but I only test the text and sometimes I'm a translator. I go from mattress store to mattress store, checking that they haven't removed those tags that say do not remove under penalty of law. I'm called a federal mattress content regulation inspector. I am a job developer. I assist individuals with disabilities find jobs in the community. Sometimes I have to job carve, which means I have to convince a business to create a customized position that fits the individual's skill to the business's need. Without revealing too much info, I get paid $30 hour to hang notices on people's doors. I have other tasks, but this task is about 25-35% of my day. So, this also means I drive around the city all day, and I typically drive about 50 miles around the city per day. Full-time job with benefits. I drive motorhomes all over the country. Fairly common job, but I am surprised not many people realize how they get delivered from the factory or custom shop. I work in IT distribution. Think the middleman. Most people think that your local mom and pop stores, and even Best Buy, get their products direct from vendors like Sony, Cisco, or even Ruckus. This isn't the case. They get it from distributors. I love my job. I get to work directly with business owners to sell all sorts of IT products. I even get to wheel and deal with pricing. I work direct with the vendors as well, often on behalf of the business. Title research. Anytime someone buys real estate, we research the history to make sure there aren't any liens that will affect new loans on the property. If you've bought real estate, our fees are just a line item figured into the closing costs that you never notice. I work as a falconer, using birds of prey to keep other birds away from train tracks, airports, farms, you name it. It's like being a bird bounty hunter. I sell private murder mystery events. I learn about your event, birthday party, corporate event, holiday party, etc. And then I send out trained actors to perform an interactive murder mystery. It's literally such a killer job. I make recommendations to the people who make decisions on the behalf of the people looking after your pension fund. I look at pieces of tissue under the microscope to provide diagnosis on biopsies and surgical specimen. Few people know that practically all cancer diagnoses are done this way, by someone looking at the cells and going, yeah, this looks like cancer. I make movie reels with a fiber optic laser. I also make the hardware for barn doors. I'm a luthier. I build and repair stringed instruments. I work in a hospital lab. Most people assume I just draw blood. While I'm trained to draw blood, I haven't done it in over a year. I run the tests that are done in the lab and make sure the results are accurate, which requires education, reasoning skills, and knowing how to work on maintain very expensive instruments, since a lot of tests are moving towards automation. The lab is also who gets called whenever a nurse has questions about what results mean and what the criteria is for specimens. I ride horses professionally. You think horses are born knowing how to carry a human and do fancy tricks? Haha. Think again. Idiots like me teach them how. Making CPR dummies of animals for vet schools. How else do you teach people how to do CPR on a goat without really pissing off a goat? Wildlife control at a major airport. I drive around with a shotgun and shoot birds all day. Watchmaker. As in actually making. No. I don't change batteries or sell you bracelets. I assemble mechanical watches and do the setup on complications like dates or turbulence. I'm a commercial diver. I do underwater construction salvage inspection. People don't think about it, but pretty much any job that requires something be done underwater we get a call. It's loads of fun and the pay is great. I input electrical facilities information into a GIS system that supports a real-time working model of the portion of the power grid owned by the company. Breakdown. Mapping the stuff that turns the lights on. I am hired by my local council to check if the trees in the nearby forest are healthy. My dad is what's called a process server, otherwise known as a constable. Basically he goes around the city giving court papers to defendants telling them that they have to appear in court on a certain date for a certain thing. For safety reasons. It's never about a crime, the police handles that. But it's usually that they're getting evicted. Or they're getting a divorce. Or getting sued. Civil things like that. Maybe people do know about this. But what I know is that everyone I tell this to has no idea what it is. Edit. Holy shit, this is the most upvotes I've ever had on anything. Thanks. It's not my job. But it's my mom's. She works for this company called Nielsen. Which is this company who collects data for other companies and media. If you ever hear about how many people watch a certain show, that's Nielsen's data. My mom's job is to recruit people for Nielsen to gain data from. All participants are randomly selected, aware and consenting to the fact that their information is being recorded, and are rewarded. Most people don't know that Nielsen exists despite the fact that it's a multi-billion company and that there is a Family Guy episode centered around it. When my mom's out recruiting people she gets a lot of weight. They're actually real. Although it was just some Family Guy joke. First comment ever. I'm a police analyst. I basically audit police officers and those that work in police department. I also perform various other statistics on crimes, demographics, etc. I'm a flavorist. We basically create or duplicate flavors using chemicals, extracts, oils, etc. Food processing destroys a lot of natural flavors, so it's our job to make sure the food tastes the way it should. That is, products that say made with real cheese taste so good because of cheese flavoring, not because there's a small amount of cheese in there. You think you know how something tastes until someone asks you to duplicate it for them. I used to answer calls from people stuck in an elevator all over the US. You would push the button thinking you were calling someone in the building. Nope, you were getting some person in a Texas call center. Edit. When it wasn't stuck elevator patrons. It was service calls. Here is a fun call I just remembered about. The guy on the phone was one of my supervisors. https://www.youtube.com/watch?dv7exddp1x8. My mom is a horse braider. Not a breeder but a braider. She braids horses' manes and tails for horse shows. It's quite lucrative, as people who own horses know. Everything to do with horses is expensive. I paint corporate scenery. Corporate scenery is everywhere. But it's designed to be unobtrusive. Whenever there's a stage at a conference, or a trade show, or product release, or an ad shoot, they hire a scene shop to build and paint their specific design. For a high profile example, my shop built and I stained the wood for the Ubisoft stage at E3 2019. Pretty much anyone can slap a coat of paint on a wall. My specific skill is needed to mix exact brand color matches, paint logos onto things. And when the work is going to be seen right up close, I can do really high finish work to make it totally clean and perfect and give them the exact sheen surface quality the designer specifies. If you want to get nothing in return, you can like and join my Discord. There is a link in the description.